Welcome to this Tales episode. I think it's 39. It's an 11/11 special, this 11th day of November. Incredibly, I made a sort of prelude short to this about 10 minutes ago. And in that short time, it's got fairly dark really quickly. It's amazing transformation. You hear the birds coming to life and singing, and then flying their way home to their nests, and then all the crickets start coming to life, and all the nocturnal creatures start coming out. It's pretty amazing. And then watching for that first star in the sky. That's really what I want to talk about, basically, is astrology. And wow, have you been feeling it? So I know some of you have, and I know some of you have told me of others that have been feeling things. For me, it was last Wednesday. I think that was the 9th. It's nothing I can put into words. It's nothing I can point to. It's nothing specific, but there was a feeling of, all I can put it down to is astrological movements. And if you're on a certain frequency, then we're feeling these things more. I do listen to some astrology channels. The one I listen to mostly is Adrian Elise, and I seem to remember, I may have got this wrong, but I listen to the astrology not for the purpose of prediction, but more as a confirmation, or making it a sort of concrete fact, as it were, of, that's why I'm feeling this way, because of this planetary movement, or this sextile, or whatever the relationship between the different planets and the houses they're in. So last Wednesday, it just didn't gel right. And go through the checklist. Is it something in me? Which obviously is, because it's the universe is you inverse. But there's nothing bad. There's nothing spectacularly good. It was all pretty even, and the day flowed okay. There's just this feeling, but it had shifted by Thursday, and today it's had that sort of similar feeling, but in the short space of time, I suppose, from about 5 o'clock, where the light was starting to go, I've got this feeling of let's just call it the bloom of the Piscean age, the positive, and as well, and expect there to be a negative as well. And this is what I was going to say. If I remember rightly from what Adrian Elise said, Mercury is the first of the planets to move across into Pisces, and I think it's by next January. Pretty much all of them will be across there. Don't quote me on this. I'm just I'm internalizing what I've heard and trying to relay how I'm feeling inside myself. And I'm sure some of you out there have had these similar sort of feelings. Things don't feel quite right, and I would say it's internal adjustments that are going on, which are reflected in the astrology. Because surely, if the universe is within, and everything outside of us is an external projection, then it is our energy and our feelings and frequencies that are affecting the stars, not the other way around, perhaps. But these things are always two-way, so I'm sure there is some sort of reciprocal exchange of magnetic energy. I was reminded, when I say reminded, it popped into my mind. It was a video I made, I can't even remember when, maybe 2 years ago. There was reports of earthquakes right sort of near where I was at the time, and it's like, well, I never felt anything. And yet on YouTube, on a lot of these sort of mainstream channels, they were reporting all of this, and I did comment to one or two and said, I'm in the area and there is absolutely no feeling of any earthquakes whatsoever, and certainly not the magnitude they were suggesting. Interestingly, I got a comment, it may have been on that video, a lady in the States saying she lived in an area the size of 2 football pitches, and what came out of it, there was a distinct marker between those that had felt an earthquake there and those that hadn't. Now, trying to apply a physical, rational explanation, how can one person in such a small area not feel something and yet another person does? It defies any sort of material logic. But when you turn it over to spiritual science, it then makes sense. What came out of it, the distinctive marker, was those that worked in places like garden centres that were involved in nature in some way, those that were more in tune with nature, more sort of happy-go-lucky, not buying into the fear programs and things, they didn't feel the earthquakes. And yet another group, the sort of group that's fed by, or spoon-fed by what they take in through media, and very much in the fear program, they did feel the earthquakes. So I'm wondering about these feelings now. Certainly those that are on some sort of spiritual path, I would say the general consensus is that you'll be feeling something, but many other people won't be feeling it. So if you are feeling something, just be aware it's nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to be fearful of. It's just a change. It's just some kind of adjustment going on. I know, as a personal testimony, today I've been cutting up bamboo, stripping it, preparing kindling for a fire for the kitchen stove, and laying out a lot of the stuff in the sun so it really dries out, because there's a certain amount of dampness which makes it a bit awkward trying to get the temperature up to cook anything. But today it's like 3 times I've got blood pouring from somewhere on my hands. It's like, well, I don't have any sensation of cutting myself. Yes, I was using a saw. Yes, I was ripping up bamboo, snapping it. There's a potential of splinters and things, but I never got any pain sensations or anything that, ouch, I've just cut myself. It's just suddenly there's this blood, but as we've got to this end of the day, there's no sign again. It's just like the cuts were never there. I put this down to, I feel my metabolism is at a very accelerated rate. And I feel this is very much tied into what's been shown in the astrology. I never thought I'd ever hear myself saying that I'm looking forward and wanting to embrace winter. Normally, you mention winter, it's like, oh, less daylight, cold, damp, rain. Not my preferred choice of season. But whilst there is still that, there's a feeling which is backed up with the astrology that right through this winter, it's not a winter of discontent, it's a winter of contentedness. And it's a bloom of this Piscean age energy, it would seem. So expect there to be the great big negative theatre shows. And you'll probably see the same pattern with those football pitches. Those that are in the fear program, where you're at is what you attract, as Lana A. Labonte has said on many videos. And it's very true. I found this to be true. Wherever you are in yourself, we're basically magnetic, so it stands to reason that we will draw things towards us. Now, whether they're from a negative or a positive perspective will determine what you're actually drawing towards you. So it's a bit like a radio tuning to a specific frequency to pick up a specific station. We're basically tuning in. It's an expression that's used in the sort of spiritual communities, being attuned, tuning in. After all, this is all, when it comes right down to it, it's just nothing but energy and vibration. They're just labels that we've put to the things, and then they can easily become compartmentalized. But the thing to remember is to go beyond the label, although often the labels, if you break down the individual letters, and this is something Manly P. Hall talks about on a lecture I watched recently. It's the third episode on the Morals and Dogma about General Albert Pike. But it talks more than just about General Pike, and it sort of reiterates what I've been saying about the letters of the alphabet are symbols that are now sort of separated off from their spiritual origin, and they've been, I think the best word is to say they have been literalized and materialized into what we call words, which are a collection of these characters in a specific order, which creates a spell of a word. Isn't it interesting as well? Now, you can take this alphabet and you can have it in English. You can use the same alphabet and you can have completely different spells or similar spells in places, say with French or Italian or German or any of the European languages with an alphabet. But you rearrange all those characters in different orders and it still tells the same or very similar story. There are obviously words that don't perfectly translate into another language. They don't convey the true meaning in their native language, as it were. But where do we say the native language really is? How far back do you go to? Where do you put the marker on that? We've gone off on a tangent, I know. That's the way it goes. It's a meandering sort of path with these things. Yeah, so today this is Saturday, the 11th of November. It's funny, it was when somebody messaged me, a very good friend messaged me and said 11, 11, 11. And I thought, oh yeah, it's the 11th today. I lose track of the days, let alone the dates. But I actually work on a cycle of 3, of yesterday, today and tomorrow. So the calendar, from my perspective, sort of loses its importance. It just becomes a sort of marker, really, just as a way of sort of tracking. But it's not got the same. It's not quite so in the spotlight of a great one in the material world is you have to get things done because you have to meet deadlines. Well, I don't want to meet deadlines. I'm in the land of the living, so there are no deadlines. It's a completely different relationship and perspective with nature and with life. And what I'm feeling since about 5, I apologise if I've already said this. It may have I've said it in the mind and it's not been outwardly expressed, but I'm actually feeling this bloom of this Piscean age, this Mercury moving across. Don't ask me what time of the day and in which time zone it happened, but there's definitely been a shift. I can feel it from earlier on, but I can't point to anything material and say there it is or that's it. But inside, I can definitely feel something, and this is like a wow. This is this is exciting. And that's just the first to go across. Now, what happens when Venus and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Pluto, when everything, and the Moon and everything all goes across? It's like, this is feeling really good. So I hope that if you are still in that strange sort of not knowing feeling, that this is how somehow quantified it, helped to make sense of it. Just know that it'll pass, and it might feel a little strange and uncomfortable, but it's like wearing new clothes for the first time, I suppose, or new shoes or something. You've got to adjust into these things, and I feel that's what's just starting. This is really exciting, I feel. Now, the 12th month, we've got the 11th of the 12th, or 12/11, depending on which way you do day or month and then followed by day. Expect that one, I would say, to be a big one and a big display, shall we say. What you make of it will depend on how you feel in yourself. So my advice would be to take that step to have a more positive feeling and a more positive interaction with the external. Of course, that has to start with it from within. If you can radiate that out, you are going to see a more preferable 11/12 than many others. I've got no facts to back this up. It's just knowing how significant the number 11 is. So it's the twin pillars, the sun and the moon pillar. It represents a doorway. It represents change. Well, makes sense what's happened today, this change of feeling. It really does feel, it's almost like a feeling of spring in the metaphysical, in the astrological. I'm just externalizing what I'm feeling inside. I feel very aware of my entire sort of torso, chest is like a universe. That's a really strong feeling coming through right at this precise moment. It's almost like the lungs and the heart and the organs have like morphed into planets in a way. It's said that there is some sort of physical realignment, so maybe that's what's going on inside myself, and maybe that's what some of you will also be feeling. You'll be feeling adjustments. So it would stand to reason that things come out of the metaphysical and morph into the physical reality. So these physical bodies are part of this physical reality. So I won't be surprised if you some sort of X-ray that before and after, as it were, you're seeing this spiritual evolution manifest physically taking place in this very moment. And just think about this for a minute. How significant this is. How you have been privileged to be in this moment, to witness and see this transition that is happening, I was going to say under our noses, but it's deep within inside us. Isn't it wonderful? I hope you're feeling that, or if not, maybe this has helped make sense and helped to ease you sort of in that direction. So you have a much more amicable and pleasurable experience in your interaction in the external realm. But of course I can't do that for you. It has to come from within you. So it's just a suggestion. It's all about power of suggestion after all, and that is very much shown by the opposite polarity, as it were, to what I'm advocating here. But of course it's important to be neutral and be balanced and recognize and see both for what they are. It's all about bringing yourself into balance. So it's like, there's the rain cloud, there's the blue sky. It's as simple as that, really. This is a realm of duality and contrasts. I feel that is a big thing to not just take as a concept, but actually to feel within inside oneself. Because that will then change your perception of this reality, and it will help you discern. And also be able to catch yourself and not put a judgment on whether something's good or bad, but more to say, that doesn't look to be the most preferable path to take. This one does. I just have a feeling that I should keep following on this particular path where I'm being presented with X or Y or whatever it is. And why? There's your answer is Y. If you just mirror it, take the top of the letter Y. Now mirror it. So you flip the polarity, so the I stalk, which splits into two at the top of the letter Y, now comes back together. It forms a diamond in the middle, and it's on a vertical line. It's basically like an ascension, or you could almost see it as a symbol of ascension. It's like a diamond with a straight line going vertically. Half of it above it, half of it below it. And you see where the diamond is, it's not at the top, it's right in the middle. And that's the place to be that diamond. If you think about, this has just popped into my mind. I can't remember what I heard it on. It's something very recently. It may have been on a Brian Scott, or I really can't remember, so I can't give you a reference. But it was talking of the heart and this very intense heat right at the centre of the heart that burnt this guy's hand, and it frightened him. I think this was something to do with the origins of psychology. This is sort of coming back into my mind. It may even be in a Rudolf Steiner lecture. But I forget the specific details. It's funny, this is like how the mind now works. It just throws something across at the right time without having to consciously think of it, or consciously, now what was that I was trying to remember. There's no trying involved, it's effortless. It just pops across. So yeah, basically, so the heart, right at the heart, in the centre of the heart, is this very intense heat. That is your sun, your individual sun. Just when you look up at the night sky and see those stars, that's just a reflection of you. You're one of those stars being reflected back. Isn't that amazing? And it begs the question, what is really moving where? Is it humanity's movements that make the astrology move? If everything is an external reflection? This is just a mind meander here. it just as it comes. It's just interesting things to ponder. It's like, well, if we create our own reality, well, what are the boundaries to that? Are there boundaries to that? Can we be such an influence with our energy that we start influencing the stars? We start writing the story in the sky that's reflected to everyone. The all-seeing eye would therefore be an all-seeing vision for those that can reflect upon it, I suppose. I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. It's very hard to actually try and put into words, because it's trying to translate a language called feeling, and words don't cut it. They don't. It's not like defining things in five senses. There's no distinct boundaries with feeling. It just is what it is. It's just phenomenal. Yeah, I feel like I'm floating. I feel like I'm on a bit of a cloud. It's definitely a feeling of like a lifting up, this Piscean bloom. That's all that keeps coming into my mind, is Piscean bloom. So I welcome it. It'd be very nice to see a positive Piscean bloom. I expect to see a negative one as well, but it's going to be. I think this is going to be an interesting thing to go through. So you've made it this far. You're here to witness something magically fantastic. I'm sure of it. I can't give you any facts to support this. I can just relay what I'm feeling. So I shall leave it there and get this uploaded. So love to you all, and hopefully that has uplifted, inspired, helped make sense of things for you, and helped guide you to take your next step forward, and hopefully taken away some fear, seeing that it's just changes coming up, and it does require stepping into the unknown. But so far from the experience of stepping into the unknown, I'd say it's pretty good. It's the thing is to not have expectations. Just be neutral and just observe it, and then just see what comes, see what flows past, see what flows through, see what you feel inside yourself.